Hello again, and welcome to my living room in beautiful Barcelona. As usual, I am Daniel, talking to you about Spanish vocabulary. Today we're going to talk about a lot of Spanish vocabulary for relationships. Valentine's Day is coming up, and people might be thinking about their relationship status with a special someone. Well, here we're going to talk about the vocabulary you might need to talk about this situation. So let's get right into it. First, and very obviously, we have amigos, which are friends. That is only going to become more important a little bit later on when we start to talk about special kinds of friends. But first off, amigos. Then we have novio and novia. Novio and novia, is boyfriend and girlfriend. Actually, an interesting cultural bit is that it's also bride and groom, or groom and bride, in a wedding ceremony. El novio is the groom, and la novia is the bride. They might shout, "Vivan los novios!" which is the couple, the pair of bride and groom. But yeah, most of the time, novio and novia is just boyfriend and girlfriend. You could also say mi pareja. Pareja is like your significant other, more or less, your partner, possibly. Mi pareja. This has the benefit of being gender neutral, in case you don't want to go into details about the gender of your partner. You could just say mi pareja. You also have, mi chica, mi chico, if you wanted to say my girlfriend or boyfriend in a more casual way. Novia sounds serious in a way, like you're probably gonna get married or something. Mi chica sounds a bit more casual, not necessarily the relationship, but is at least a more casual way of expressing it. About pareja, we also have pareja de hecho. This is a civil union. Mi pareja de hecho is the person who you are in a civil union with. I don't know if this is actually valid in other Spanish-speaking countries. But here in Spain, it depends on the region, but you can go and you can sign some papers and have a pareja de hecho, which is just the civil union. It gives you some of the same rights as married couples, but without the going through the Catholic Church route, basically, which, some people don't want to do. I guess since we're talking about that, you can have a matrimonio civil also, which is a city hall wedding. Matrimonio civil, as opposed to por la iglesia. Un matrimonio por la iglesia is a church wedding. A matrimonio civil is a city hall wedding. I am not entirely certain what they do with other religious groups. The Catholic Church has had so much influence in Spain. I don't know if you can go get a Protestant wedding here in Spain and then convalidate it somehow. But matrimonio civil and matrimonio por la iglesia are the two that I've always heard about. So those are a couple of, standard situations. I mentioned earlier that amigos was going to get a little bit more interesting. Well, that's because we have amigos con derecho. Amigos con derecho would be like a friend with benefits. Amigos con derecho. I don't know if I would necessarily say mi amiga con derecho, but, somos amigos con derecho, I guess you could say if you were with your friend with benefits and talking about the situation. Technically, it's a longer expression. Amigos con derecho a roce. Roce is like to stroke or caress something. So you're friends with the right to stroke or caress each other. This is a bit long, and these days I've been hearing that people also say folla amigos, which would be your fuck buddy. if you are into that kind of thing. Foi amigos, that comes from the verb follar, and amigo, you kind of stick it together. It's a portmanteau word, I believe, is what we're supposed to call it. So that's a different sort of relationship situation. Amigo con derecho, or foi amigo. After that, you have marido y mujer. I always learned in Spanish class when I was a kid, esposo and esposa. Here that sounds very like formal and sort of old school here in Spain. I don't know what they're using in Colombia. But yeah, here in Spain the typical thing is that the husband is el marido, and his wife is su mujer. So you would say, Pedro y su mujer, which Pedro and his woman. Pedro and his woman sounds very different in English, but that's the literal translation. Pedro y su mujer, that would be Pedro and his wife. And, Pedro's wife could say, sí, mi marido está en el gimnasio. My husband is at the gym. Mi marido. So, marido y mujer are, husband and wife in these situations. You could say, also, mi media naranja. Mi media naranja is my soulmate. Literally, my half orange. You imagine you have an orange, you pull it apart, you've got two halves to the orange. So mi media naranja, my soulmate, the other half of the orange. It doesn't even really mean my better half, I don't think. It means the soulmate. If you want to talk about soulmates, you could also say un alma gemela. Alma gemela is a twin soul, literally. Alma gemela. One that I don't have written down here, but I should, is actually amor platónico. Amor platónico is kind of old school at this point. I always thought it was silly to say amor platónico because it sounds like a platonic love interest, but platonic sounds like we're talking about something a bit different. This is a crush. Now the English word crush has been kind of adopted, and you can say mi crush está en el gimnasio. Sí, mi crush viene a verme. My crush is coming to see me. Mi crush. Back in the day, though, it was amor platónico, which meant somebody who you felt strongly about, but you didn't have a physical relationship with. Actually, with crush, you definitely want to have a physical relationship with them. With an amor platónico, maybe not. Maybe it's just kind of an emotional thing that is not meant to become physical. So it's a bit different. But yeah, today young people are saying mi crush to talk about somebody who they have a crush on. After that, we have a couple of verbs. We have casarse, which is to get married. Casarse. This is a reflexive verb. Me casé hace 2 años. I got married 2 years ago. Me casé hace 2 años. You could say, I'll talk about that in a minute. We talked last video about cuánto tiempo llevas. Well, we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. You could say separarse. Separarse is to have a separation, to go your separate ways. But if you're married, you could say divorciarse, which is to get divorced. These are all reflexive verbs, which is a long story. You could say dejar a alguien if you're talking about dumping someone. Dejar a alguien. Me dejó mi novia y estoy muy triste. Estoy muy triste porque me dejó la novia. Something like that. So yeah, that is dejarse con alguien, I guess, would be the full expression. So casarse, separarse, divorciarse, dejarse con alguien. And then we have the different adjectives to talk about this. Estar soltero is to be single. Estoy soltero. You can also say soy. For me, it sounds better to say estoy soltero. And I looked into it, and apparently you can use both, and they have various nuances. Maybe you could Google it if you're really interested. I've always just heard estoy soltero, I think, because it's sort of I understand it as being a sort of temporary situation. It's not forever. However, to be married is also estar casado most of the time. Casado, casada, soltero, soltera. Of course, these have their masculine and feminine forms. So, estar soltero, estar casado, to be married, estar divorciado, to be divorced. The other day, we talked about cuánto tiempo llevas. You could say, with some of these, llevo 10 años casado, or something like that. I have been married for 10 years. Llevo 10 años casado. Just to bring back a little bit. I'll put a link to this video somewhere so you can learn about cuánto tiempo llevas if you would like. After that, we have one that I believe is definitely with ser viudo or ser viuda. This is to be, viudo would be a widower, and viuda would be a widow. I'm not certain if this is, it's not as common of a situation these days, but yeah, ser viudo, ser viuda. Back in the day, you would see, viudas, sort of like older Spanish ladies who were wearing black for 40 years because their husbands had died a long time before. It was kind of a demographic. These days, I'm not sure what the situation is. You could say, estoy saliendo con Pedro, estoy saliendo con tu prima, estoy saliendo con. This is to be going out with someone. Estar saliendo con alguien. So you could ask, ¿estás saliendo con alguien en estos días? ¿Estás saliendo con alguien en estos momentos? I'm not sure how you would express the right now part of it there, but you could say something like that and they would get your meaning. But yeah, sí, estoy saliendo con tu prima Maria. I'm going out with your cousin Maria. So that's, talking about a romantic relationship that could be more or less serious. Finally, today we have un amante. This sounds like you're, going behind someone's back. It's a lover, un amante. Mi mujer tiene un amante que se llama Rodrigo. Something like that. My wife has a lover whose name is Rodrigo. Mi mujer tiene un amante que se llama Rodrigo. I'm not exactly certain what the situation of Spanish couples is these days. Back when I have talked about it with people, they said it was fairly common for couples to have extracurricular activities of various kinds, but I'm not a sociologist, and you should always consult a sociologist before making broad generalizations about a country with 46 million people in it. Anyway, that's a lot of vocabulary about relationships in Spanish. Well, the last one we can talk about is una relación. This is fairly obvious, but una relación is a relationship, just in case we need to mention it. I hope you've learned a lot today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel, give me a like, and leave a comment talking about something else you might want to see here. I've got a lot of, ideas, but it always helps to have audience feedback. So let me know, and have a great day. From beautiful Barcelona, hasta la próxima. Bye.